Yeah, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 15.6 Product Analytics Front-End Team Retro. That's quite a mouthful. Yeah, this is going to be our first team retro as a front-end group. It's something Rob and I did frequently in compliance, or rather we did like a kickoff that was both a retro of the previous milestone and kind of planning and syncing ahead for the next one. That's usually why it ran over.
30 minutes of nattering on top.
Yeah, that's usually why it ran over time every time. So I've split it up into two meetings. Let's see how it goes. If it's not good use of anyone's time, then we can always join it back into one meeting again. I think I'm recording this for the rest of the team, but we don't necessarily have to post this on YouTube because, some sensitive stuff might come up since it's a retro, and I want to have everyone feel safe and comfortable with sharing whatever it is that you need to share. So yeah, any questions before we start? Cool, I'm seeing a thumbs up and a Rob that looks virtual. In that case, yeah, I thought we could retro the milestone board and look at basically, what is the items that are still straggling, left in, blocked, ready for development and in development, and also in review that didn't make it through to complete. I have the first item here that I can, well, actually, let's first look at what's done. Start with the victories. So the first item that I have here to share is that I worked on adding the visualization to widgets, and this was just merged today. So thank you so much, Axel and Rob, for reviewing that as quickly as you did. Also saw that Tim posted a little ta-da emoji. So it seems like he's happy. And I updated the dev kit setup instructions. I'm sure everyone's seen this by now, but yeah, this was quite stale and wrong in a few places. And it was also a fun experience because I got to merge this myself, because we don't yet have like a whole approval system on the dev kit project.
That is an approval system. Yourself, you approve.
Yeah, I approve and I merge. Yeah, Rob, you have the next item.
Yeah, we merged, me and Axel, most of the initial visualization structure to dashboards in this milestone. Up to the kubeproxy to use post, and it was working yesterday. It's not working today. Jan has, while working on his line charts, has found that it's not playing how it's supposed to. So I'm currently bashing my head against the wall trying to figure out why that's happening. And then my main task throughout this entire milestone was being a designer, a mediocre, slow one at that, but a designer all the same. So I've been out of the loop with what everyone else has been doing, more or less, just focusing on this. The designs are 99% finished. We just need to add a way of getting back to the tracking codes view, which I'm doing right now. So that is overflowing the milestone slightly. And there are issues attributed to every single one of the views that we've created now. We have a weekly UX with Sam, just to go through a weekly UX meeting to go through UX stuff with Sam. So he's happy. Yeah, I think that's everything I've done.
Yeah, Sam promoted this to an epic, just for, I'm sure you're well aware of, but just for the recording, just sharing that it's been promoted to an epic. And yeah, here's the list of issues that we have for the onboarding MVC. So it's going to be pretty simple because we're starting out with those pre-built dashboards, and we're not including any of the project instance management or project dashboard management into it as a first milestone.
Or the empty state, because we will always have those inbuilt dashboards.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to be clear, the onboarding MVC is for the internal handbook. We need the backend API so we can run queries against production without needing to hit production console. But the UI doesn't necessarily need to be there, but we do want it there shortly after to prove like the whole flow to internal stakeholders. But to start collecting data and showing dashboards, we don't need it necessarily.
Yeah, so maybe I can just quickly walk through for like Axel and everyone watching the recording. Like the first screen that users are going to see is this lovely one that Rob designed, and I strongly disagree with his self-reviewed lack of design skills. As you can see, it looks great. The next one is we'll have a loading screen. Once you click that button to provision it, you'll then have a instrumentation screen where you'll be asked to add the tracking to your application. And then once we've received the first event, we'll move directly over to the hard-coded list of dashboards. And yeah, that's it. Any questions on this? I just want to make sure that we're all aligned, since this has been like a big topic of discussion like the last week.
No, it looks pretty well, and it is also, from what I can see, in line with the first idea that we have, first ideas that we have around onboarding, like back on with the first POCs. So yeah, no, mostly like the only question that could pop up in my mind is regarding the loading state of the onboarding, like what are going to be waiting there, it is actually a process that is going to take time, and what I'm trying to say is what does involve this screen, what's behind it, but I could answer it async as well. So
the answer to that is we are waiting for the Jitsu key to be generated. So it's meant to trigger or send off the whole Jitsu process, generate a new project in Jitsu, tie that to ClickHouse, Cube, etc., and return the key that's needed for the JavaScript library to actually send queries to Jitsu. So we're pretty much waiting for that. We had me and Jan had a conversation with Max this morning around how we can know when the backend is actually doing that process.
yes.
So there's going to be a Redis API key and GraphQL update to accommodate that. So we'll be able to know that the worker is working to stop people from trying to create multiple instances, for starters.
Yes.
And secondly, also, so we can progress past this stage as well once we have that key and we know the work is finished.
Yeah, that answered my question. Yeah, and basically, while we don't have that key, that means that we are loading, we are waiting for it. So yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Axel, you have the next agenda item.
Oh yeah. So on this milestone, I work on the admin settings section. I consider that work to be pretty important for me, especially because I have been working a lot with Vue here at GitLab before Product Intelligence and stuff, but I haven't gotten a lot into HAML and our I don't know how to call it, or HAML stack. So and I don't have like a great how could I say it? I haven't worked a lot with backend or Ruby, no, but not for not saying backend. So this was really a learning process for me, and a really good teachable moment for me, because I got this a bunch of reviews. This was heavily reviewed with requirements, like things to fill in, and those were the things that I had doubt about, were like how should we test this, or what are the conventions that we have. So some of them are not that easy to discover on the handbook, maybe. Like you don't get a checklist of, yeah, for doing this you have to check this. I believe the only thing we miss is a feature spec. But yeah, besides the actual work, this was important because of that. And yeah, no.
Yeah, definitely great work on this. And the feature spec, I think we'll be able to come back to once we have the actual dashboards connected and using the Q proxy, because then we can actually verify that it's, using the correct details once we have that like feature worked out, because currently it's just saving it, and a unit spec is sufficient there. Cool.
Yeah, and besides that, I also link, and you could check this out afterwards in a thing. I link a couple of follow-ups that I work on. A couple of them, I believe, are in the last stage of review, and that there is also the DMR that broke master, and yeah, that was fun as well. I haven't broke master in a while, so
it's something everyone should try at once.
Yeah, it was exciting to get all of the notifications about and freaking out.
I never broke master until this group. Just saying, 3 years of GitLab.
Yeah, to be fair,
I broke it like a few months in, and it was a really visual change because I use Flexbox, and Flexbox I use Flexbox in a container which only had inline elements. So when you added a Flexbox element, it removed the surrounding space. So it was inline, flex, and inline, and it looked awful. So yeah.
Cool. Well,
no, and that's what I mean.
And just to check, Axel, on the documentation side of things, Max's MR is merged, I believe. So are you just going to be linking that documentation to admin settings and updating it to talk about the admin settings? Is that what the plan is for that follow-up? Adding the link and then updating the docs to talk about admin settings?
Yeah, no. I'm not updating the docs. No, only
because that documentation only refers to the dashboards. It doesn't refer at all to admin settings. It's sort of a generic product analytics page, and right now all it describes is how to create a dashboard using the schema. So we're also going to need that to link to a bit that talks about admin settings, like what settings, where do you find these settings, and all that sort of stuff, all that fun stuff that we currently don't tell anyone and just hope they guess, as Jan found out when he tried using it.
Yeah,
setting up his local.
Good call out, Rob. I have the documentation open here, and yeah, we are lacking a section on the admin settings, so we'll need to document that, and also document the feature flag that it's hidden behind if it's on a different one than Kube API proxy, which I believe it is.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly just add this to the issue description here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know a good example in which I could base the documentation. So yeah. Thank you, Jana. I mean.
Yeah, that's why we're having this call, is to catch the small things. Any last things that you guys would like to share in terms of what you've completed this milestone? Else we can move on to the next bit.
I have one little thing to say.
Yeah.
In Figma, when you create a design and you use the GitLab components, they are linked to a shared library that gets linked throughout every design in GitLab, so everyone's consistent. They also get updated and managed by, I think, Foundation manages it. The one little gotcha is if you go, yeah, I'm just going to update everything, because you get notifications to say a component's been updated. Make sure you take a screenshot or a copy of your original design, because I did it earlier and all of the alignments went kaput. Everything went wrong. All the margins were off. It was horrible. And I had to go back through the screenshots I'd taken for the designs and link and guesstimated what margins I'd used, because everything was completely screwed. So yeah, if you do agree to update those components, make sure you know what you're updating and what it's changing. Little public service announcement there.
Thanks. We'll definitely keep that in mind so that I can avoid that. Cool. Moving on to the items that will likely slip. looking at the board, my one that's going to slip is the this isn't verification, so that's done. Is the cube rendering a line chart one. This is yeah, I've just been distracted a whole bunch this milestone, a lot of context switching back and forth between both compliance and analytics, and also inside analytics, because I mean we have like, I feel like a lot of work streams going on in terms of like the backend doing one thing. We have onboarding, we have the dashboards, and yeah, as my first milestone, there was a lot also to take in, and then also setting up the dev kit and getting it all working, and some blockers along the way that Rob is graciously helping me out with. So yeah, that's pretty much the update on this. I know it's super important that we get this unblocked so that everyone can start using this as an example for other visualizations going forward. So this is like my pretty much going to be my priority number one for the next week and next milestone. But yeah, that's my item. Rob, you have the next one.
Yeah, the big one for me is just we haven't fully prepped out the create the onboarding view app or waiting for the stat to be created aspects of the onboarding process. The first one is a major blocker for us to start doing the onboarding UI, and that is creating that overarching view app with routing that's going to connect all these screens together and then essentially get you to the dashboard listing. And the second one is that waiting screen. And in both situations, it's just because we've been waiting on back-end final decisions to be made. So as soon as we've got confirmation and all that, I will make sure I update those, and then they can move into workflow ready for development. I guess I should probably also mention that the other thing is the blocked issue for turning this on for the internal handbook. Obviously, we haven't got sign off on the infrastructure just yet, so that hasn't happened. But it is more or less ready to go. So we'll see. It was a long shot whether it hit 15.6 in the first place. So
yeah, cool. Axel, you have the next one, and it's basically just a victory.
Yeah. From my side, I do have a couple of issues that slip the milestone, but those are basically on review, so I didn't mention them. This was I talk about that further into the agenda, but yeah, nothing sleep because I didn't have this an important deliverable to deliver, neither like any important blocker. So yeah,
I would say the admin settings was a big important deliverable, and that got out the door.
Well, it got close. It got close before, so I was kind of working on it on the previous milestone. So that's a bit of cheating. So
yeah, but we were also doing the dashboard stuff as well, so I wouldn't count that.
Cool. Well done on getting everything basically through the door. I count review on the final day as a win. It means that your work for the most part is done. And a like an open question for everyone. Is there anything that like you need help with? Like I've already asked Rob for some help with the Q proxy that is helping me with. But yeah, anything that you two need help with?
I'm going to need opinions on what design to go with once I've actually finished designing it for the implementation settings screen, how we get back to that. I've got 3 ideas in my head, so I'm going to design those up. I'm not finished yet. And then I'm going to ping people. So be prepared to tell me what you prefer.
Sounds good. Cool. The following is ideas/action items for improvements in the following milestone. This is stuff that, you know, we'd usually implement within ourselves or also across the wider team. Of the first item, which is keeping in sync with our product vision and goals. We've seen this go slightly out of sync, I think both ways, in terms of like product issues not being like completely up to date, and implementation issues, like kind of drifting off that. We've now corrected, and it's the first like small issue that I'm aware of in this whole time. So I think like as a group, we've been doing a pretty bang up job. But yeah, this is just like something to keep in mind, is to keep checking back to like Sam's vision for the 2 demos, the internal demo and the first user demo. I guess that can also get confusing, and that gets to Rob's points of like, you know, it gets confusing because like, what is the MVC that's being discussed in a given context? Because we have like multiple MVCs with multiple targets that we're trying to hit. So I'll segue to you, Rob.
Yeah, this is what I've been started calling the first stage as the internal preview and the second as the customer facing MVC, because the internal preview is just to prove our point. I feel like the true MVC isn't really until we start giving it to customers, because before that, it's like not even alpha at this point, because we haven't even got near alpha. Yeah, I've echoed your sentiment. We need to be better at making sure that we're in alignment in that instance. Especially because like I've been doing a lot of design stuff. A lot of that is several milestones ahead of where we are, because UX has to be built and prepped for future milestones, not right now. And then I've also been in serious conversations with Max around backend and talking to him about backend, trying to be a counterpart for him because he's all on his lonesome, which again is a milestone or 2 ahead of front end. So I'm in my head, I'm spread over like 5 milestones. So it does get very difficult to try and keep all of that in your head right ordered as well. So just keep
Sounds like you're
pushing
Doctor
back.
Who.
I'm just being the jack of all trades and the master of none, honestly. I'm giving a modicum of ability in each sector.
Well, I think you've been doing a great job. And yeah, really appreciate your effort that you've put in, because yeah, like I said, you're stretched across multiple milestones, multiple disciplines.
Don't get me wrong, it's also quite fun, just slightly strong.
Cool. Axel, you have the next one.
Yeah, from my side, I'm looking forward for the next milestone planning. And this is basically to have a roadmap laid out, and this is something that I have been looking forward since I joined team. Like we started with a general direction of where we might want to go, and now we are like a bit more spearheaded, and I'm really excited about that. So yeah, because in this milestone I did feel like I didn't knew what the priority was, and there was not a clear answer about that. So I'm not saying this like a critique. It's just like I'm excited about the next one. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Cool. So for you, it's like the point of improvement that you're looking for is clear priority going to 15.7.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Which we've got the 15.7 milestone issue, haven't we? Which I assume we're going to discuss in the next week. So that hopefully read through it, double check that everything like the priorities make sense. Everyone, if anyone doesn't agree with a priority or doesn't understand, raise it now before we actually start working on it, because that's bitten us in the ass before.
Yeah, Dennis did share a pinned post in the Slack channel that everyone should check out, linking both to the objectives and themes, which tie into the priorities and the next milestone planning. So definitely do check it out. I see we're basically at time, but I don't want to skip over this next section because I feel like it's super important to say our thanks. I want to say thank you to the both of you for when I joined, for setting up that front-end recap. Was super, super helpful. Something that I referred back to a lot throughout my first week or 2 here. So that helped me a lot. And I think it's also going to help future team members that are on board. So yeah, thanks so much. Rob, you have the next one.
He says the praise is the worst. It's the worst section for a British person, especially me. I just want to say, obviously, I've been in a world of my own doing design stuff. I've not really done much in the way of front end this milestone. So I really appreciate that you both picked up the front end task, kept driving the team forward, our group forward, and produced some excellent work. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and from my side, I have to thank you both. Like, I had a couple of bad weeks, but I felt like pretty supported. Like it happened in the past that if I was not around, then things didn't move. So yeah, I mean, and that was of course a source of stress for me. So yeah, no, I'm super glad, and also for your reviews, like. Again, I'm not feeling that rusty now, but and that's also thanks for the feedback and calling me out on things that are missing, and yeah, no, I'm super happy right now. So in general,
Yeah, it's really cool to be part of a bigger team. So hopefully we can continue to make it awesome space. My last thanks is also just for, I mean, today, Rob, you were a big help. I feel like stopping what you were doing and like jumping on and trying to unblock me. I really appreciate that. So
Your stuff is higher priority than my stuff. Plus, I kind of might have broken it, so I have a moral obligation to try and fix
not
this.
pointing any fingers. No, I mean, that's something that would have. The fact that we can't figure it out means like it would have slipped through any review. And the last agenda item is, to saw any code that you would like to call out as awesome. Since there's no points there, I'm going to assume that all the code that we wrote was super awesome. So give yourself a clap. Cool. That is the retro. We're at time, but yeah, any last minutes agenda items or things you would discuss? Cool. Seeing some shaking heads. In that case, I'm going to stop the recording.